Hey guys, what's going on? So the Corvette Z06 set a ring time 7:10 and some change. Not a good time at all. I predicted this would happen. I predicted they wouldn't be able to break 7 minutes. And then the driver, who basically said that it was a gearing issue, I'm going to explain to you guys the real issue. It has nothing to do with the gearing. It has to do with the electronic governors that are very advanced on the car, which everybody mistakes for bad gearing. But they don't understand. Well, I shouldn't say everybody, because there's some people who are so oblivious they don't even know what's going on at all. But the people who think that they're good drivers, they don't understand that the car is electronically governed in turns. And so it comes across to a good driver who doesn't know that there's electronic governors there. He assumes that it's a gearing issue. So I just want to be very clear. The Corvette C8 Z06 makes plenty of power on all the gears, okay? It's not a gearing issue. What it is a governor issue. And so we're going to explain this again. I've explained it in the past. People say that I'm making it up. It's not made up. The guys at Spring Mountain will confirm that the governors are there if you talk to them long enough and you have intelligent conversation with them. The governors are there. They've been there since the C7. GM continues to advance the governors, and it's a very advanced program. So are you guys willing to listen for a change and learn what's going on with the vehicle that you think you can go out and drive at 130 miles per hour, and it's not your responsibility to know how it works before you hurt yourself and others? So maybe you could listen for a change. How about that? Okay. So those of you asking, who taught you this, Brandon? It's been like a scavenger hunt to try to figure all of this out. No one came to my house and knocked on the door and said, hey, I'm going to explain to you how the Corvettes work. There definitely weren't any GM videos that explained it. There have been little clues that have been left where tags and people say, yeah, the new zr1, whenever it does come out, will definitely be governed. The engine that you're seeing, the 1,000+ horsepower engine, will definitely be governed in first and second and third gear. Okay, but what they don't tell you is that there's governors when you're going around turns. And the governor is based on lateral Gs. So the car is always detecting its lateral Gs. It has the little accelerometers inside the car that are detecting G-forces in different directions. And based on those G-forces, the car has ceilings to throttle body angle. So what that means is, and by the way, the car doesn't show you this. I explained this to a couple people the last few days who've been asking me. All you got to do is ask me polite questions. I'll be more than happy to explain it all to you guys. When you guys tell me I'm wrong and that I don't know what I'm talking about and you start insulting my character, I have no more patience. We're going to get ruthless against you guys. We are going to annihilate you guys. You guys have no clue what's going to come for you. All these of you keep character attacking me simply because I want to share truth in the community to try to keep those of you safe who want to learn about the cars and take the responsibility to learn what's going on with the object that you're driving around, the 4,000 rough 3,500, 4,000 pound object you're driving around 130 miles per hour. There's the people who care. There's the people who think that they don't care. They care when they're behind bars after they commit manslaughter, or they're in a hospital bed with, injuries, we'll just say, and or the morgue where they're dead, right? So these cars can be very dangerous if you don't understand how these programs work and what they do, okay? And General Motors doesn't want to explain it because they don't want to be the bad guys. And it goes deep. It's a deep subject. Somebody needs to make a long documentary about it, which maybe I will. But it has to do with the way the government's imposing things on auto manufacturers, saying that they need to make the cars safer. The problem is all this safety has a catch-22 to where the car is also extremely unsafe in ways that the average great driver has no comprehension that the car is going to backstab them. Okay? So we need to talk about it. So, and those of you saying, oh, you can just become a better driver and it's not a big deal. Ayrton Senna, who's arguably one of the best drivers the world's ever seen, he died in an E-diff car, and it was the first time he'd ever driven an E-diff Formula One car. All the Formula One cars before that Williams car were all mechanical torsion diffs, okay? So I had to do a lot of homework to figure this out. Nobody made a documentary yet explaining that. I had to watch documentary after documentary about the Formula One cars. So I finally heard the guy who invented the McLaren MP4 car explain it has a torsion mechanical diff. And I'm like, oh my God, I knew it. And sure enough, the Williams car had an electronic diff that Ayrton Senna died in. And Ayrton Senna said he couldn't figure out why the car was bipolar. It's because it had an electronic diff. Okay, There's a reason. Okay, anyway, I'm getting tangenting right now, but the point is this. There's trade-offs, guys. Positive and negative trade-offs. Don't worry, it's just a bunch of metal bars back there. Floor jacks swinging around. But anyway, let's see. So the governor program on the Corvette is based on lateral Gs. Okay, so as you approach 1.0, 1.1, and 1.2 lateral Gs, the car starts to pull throttle body angle down. You don't feel it per se. 9 out of 10 people, they're not even trying to exceed that limit because they have enough, common sense to be like, ooh, I'm at the limit, I want to go slower. But when you're trying to set ring records and you're looking for 1.3, 1.5, 1.6 lateral Gs, and the car is then limiting your throttle body angle, that becomes a problem. And that's exactly what the car does, guys. The car limits throttle body angle as those Gs are approached. So when you're in a long sweeping turn and you're trying to get back on the throttle, and you expect the car to kick out the back end and allow you to slightly step the back end out and drift the turn and get back on the throttle early, and the car doesn't let you do that, you might assume that it's a gearing problem because you feel the lack of power. It's not a gearing problem, guys. It's a throttle body angle problem. Even when you're driving in a straight line, the Z06 never opens throttle body all the way. It used to when it made over 9,000 RPM and GM had it completely de-restricted. But then in testing, they realized they were blowing up motors. Why were they blowing up motors? Because they didn't put in 2 in-tank fuel pumps. Mark Royce, I'm not guessing. Okay, there's a reason why your cars are the way they are. So there's a reason why Taj and friends couldn't achieve what they wanted to achieve. So what's happened is General Motors has brought the cars down to match up with the fuel flow, okay? So they have 1 in-tank fuel pump when they needed 2, okay? Because the little bit of lack of fuel pressure at times, notice I said at times, it's not all the time. You can put it on the dyno, it's gonna read fuel pressure fine. The problem is the alternators and the batteries, and the computer glitches and mouses chewing wires, different things create little circumstances where you get little voltage drops, and those little voltage drops cause the low side fuel pump to not flow as much because it's voltage dependent, and then the car experiences detonation because the high side pump's output pressure is extremely dependent on the low side pump's feed pressure. So if you change the low side pump's feed pressure from 70 psi down to 63 psi, only a 7 psi change, that has hundreds and hundreds of psi change on the high side pumps, which run at 3,000 and 4,000 psi. It changes their deltas, it changes their fluctuation by hundreds of psi, which in turn flows less fuel through the direct injectors, which in turn causes the car to run lean. Temporarily, but it only takes a temporary moment when you're running 8,600 RPM to blow up a motor. Okay, so General Motors couldn't figure out why they were blowing up motors, or they knew and they just lied and said they didn't know, and they wanted to make the cars more budget friendly, so they only put 1 in-tank fuel pump. When an extra fuel pump only costs less than $300, guys. But neither here nor there. General Motors limited the Z06, the C8 Z06, is what it is. And so they're limiting throttle body. The throttle body is limiting the car to the 670 horsepower. Originally, the car was over 720 horsepower. Okay? And true wide open throttle. It's probably even more than that. So just understand, they've limited the car over 50 horsepower. So they're always limiting the throttle body, guys. Even when you're going in a straight line, they're limiting the throttle body. The question is, how much are they limiting it? Now, those of you say, well, I'm going to data log it and I'm going to find out. No, you're not. So let's talk about this discussion. The car has different brains, if you will, and these different brains can each set ceilings to throttle body angle. So what are some of these different brains? You have the body control module, you have the engine control module, which is the one that everybody knows about. They say, I've tuned the car. Haha, we've cracked the code, says Andrew at CSP. I can tune the car now. No, you can't. You can only tune it in certain situations, and in other situations it still overrides what you said for it to do. And you say, nuh-uh, Brandon, nuh-uh. Yeah. And the reason being is the body control module and the brake control module and the transmission control module, General Motors can literally put code in any module. And they can write a code in any module in the CAN bus system to say, you have power to limit throttle body, and if you see something you don't like, by all means limit it. So the transmission can limit throttle body, the body control module, which is like your, you know, stability control, electronic stability control, the accelerometers that I've been talking about, they can all set ceilings. And so what's it mean? It means, let's say that the ECU is commanding, let's say the ECU ceiling is currently set at 100% throttle body, even though it's not, because I already said GM's limiting it. So let's just be real here. Let's just say 95 is the top, just to keep this accurate so that we don't have people trying to argue with us later. So let's say that the ECU says that 95% is the top ceiling. Let's say that the brake control module says, yeah, 95% right now, based on what I'm seeing, is fine with me too. That's fine for the top ceiling. Meanwhile, let's say the body control module says, I'm seeing way too many lateral G's, guys. We're pulling 1.1 lateral G right now, sustained at 130 miles per hour. I'm going to go ahead and say that if the driver were to increase throttle from his current 40% position beyond the 60% position, it could cause the car to spin off the road. So I'm going to go ahead and set a ceiling at 60% for the next few nanoseconds. And these computers are constantly calculating and calculating and calculating nanosecond by nanosecond. What is the ceiling going to be? Now, the throttle body program listens to, its program is designed to listen to whatever the lowest ceiling is, obey. Okay? So whatever that lowest ceiling is, hang on a second. How are you?
You got a long time no see.
Yeah, right here. I appreciate you.
1227, just sweet potato asparagus.
Yep. Right? I appreciate you. Thank you. And so I don't even eat the chicken from Longhorn anymore. They changed their chicken supplier. It's not good. I go to Whole Foods to get these organic big roasted chickens for $11, $12 to call it a day. And so I just come here to get the sweet potato and the asparagus, $12. So proof that you can eat a really healthy meal throughout the day, and is what it is. So anyway, for those of you who are wondering, how does my mind do these things? It's because when I eat certain foods, I can calculate, I can detect that my mind isn't working as well. Okay, I can detect that I'm in a fog. I become one of the stupid people. So for those of you wondering, I wonder what's fucking wrong with this guy. Eat some healthy food. Okay, I'm just being blunt with you guys. It's good. And once you start doing it, you're going to realize you're on a planet with a bunch of poisoned, drugged weirdos. Like, that's what most of you are. I hate to say it. I appreciate you.
How's the Corvette?
Good.
Good?
Yeah.
You got the paint job good, like done on it?
No, it's still got that wrap on there.
Oh yeah, matte wrap, right?
Yep, you got it. I haven't seen you in a while.
Yeah, I don't know. The shifts, they've been kind of messing with my schedule a little bit.
I've been out of town a lot too.
Oh yeah?
Yep, I appreciate you. Thank you.
All right, have a good one.
So, I was explaining the ceilings. Once the car sets a ceiling, that's all the throttle body can do. So what happens when you take the gas pedal and you mash it from 40% up past 60%? What does the car do? The car limits you to 60%. Now you feel the jump from 40% up to 60%, but you don't feel the jump from 40% up to 80%, assuming you gave it 80% throttle. You don't feel the jump from 40% up to 100%, assuming you gave it 100% throttle. So General Motors has made the cars dummy proof. But in doing so, they've also laced a trap. And I don't know that General Motors is smart enough to know that they laced a trap. Hey, GM Legal, are you listening? Mark Royce, are you listening? Because you guys are going to get sued about this one day, because it's a really big deal, so you might want to listen up. What happens is, as people who are extremely aggressive drivers who are trying to set ring records, or trying to set faster lap times at VIR and all these different things, and there's a lot of proof behind what I'm about to tell you, because there's been a lot of wrecked cars in the last 2 years by people who are exceptional drivers, people who have fast lap times at the racetracks. They are spinning the C8 Z06 and totaling the cars. It's not just once or twice, it's been a lot of different people. And slowly but surely, these people have come out of the woodwork, offered me some sort of an apology in some cases, and said, hey, Brandon, you know what? In the beginning, I thought that you were full of shit. I assumed that Justin at Horsepower Obsessed and, Keith Cornett and all these other people who say that you're just this negative Nelly who hates the brand, blah, blah, blah. If I hated the brand, I would have just gone to another car. I hate what General Motors has done to this car, and I realize that it can cost people their lives. Okay, and I'd like to explain that to you guys if you guys are willing to listen. Some of you aren't. Some of you think that your shit doesn't stink and that you're impervious. You may as well go try some crystal meth while you're at it this weekend and see what else you're impervious to. Have sex with people who have AIDS. Just see what all you can get away with because you're Mr. Impervious. For the rest of you who know that you're not invincible, I'm going to go ahead and tell you what's going on with these cars. And maybe you guys are going to listen this time, right? So do I have your attention? Because I'm not lying. So basically, the reason why these people are wrecking their cars is one of two reasons. And it's both glitch-based. There's two different types of glitches. Are you keeping up? Okay, so the first type of glitch is when there's a voltage swing and the transmission control unit leaves the chat and your EDIF percentage goes from 50 or 60%, which is what was keeping the car from spinning around in a turn, and it unlocks to 0% in the blink of an eye. And around you go. Period. The car spins. You're off the track backwards. So that's glitch number one. How do you prevent that kind of glitch? Well, you can try to, again, pretend that you're never going to have a mouse chew a wire and that you're never going to have a Google infotainment glitch, because we've realized that the Google infotainment glitching is enough to piss off the system for some reason and cause the transmission control unit to leave the chat. Okay, we've seen it happen. We have the documentation. There's many of us who are keeping pace on this now. There's a lawsuit here, guys. It's a really big deal. How would we prevent this from happening? Well, the people who want to try to set lap records, they need this thing called a mechanical diff, Mark Royce, which is why Porsche and Lamborghini and so many people have offered such a thing over the years on their flagship track-oriented cars. That's why your C8R has a mechanical diff in it, Mark. Mary Barra. Tad, you've retired. He knows, but he doesn't care. He's checked out before the lawsuits start. Anyway, so the legal team, you guys probably need to understand this stuff. You guys build cars for a living. It's probably time you understood what I'm fucking talking about when I'm explaining how your cars work and don't work. Okay, so that's step one. That's glitch number one. What's glitch number two? Glitch number two, I didn't realize right away was a glitch. And then once I finally started thinking about it, I'm like, aha, I see what's going on. And I've explained this to many people. There have been people who've wrecked their cars at VIR. There's been people who've wrecked their cars in Wisconsin. There's been people who've wrecked their cars in Atlanta. There's in Georgia. There's been people who've wrecked their cars in New York. Cars totaled, messed up, people injured. There's been wrecks, guys. And the guys are all good enough drivers that when they say to me, Brandon, it was like my back end hit a patch of ice and off the road I went. I was completely stable, and then poof, the car just flung off the racetrack like I've never seen before. I said, right, the EDIF unlocks. So once you guys understand that that's what's going on, what in the world? There's a train stopped ahead. That's not good. Detour. I'm very fortunate to have good eyesight where I can see a mile away. These other people who can't, I feel sorry for them. Everybody back at that intersection went straight to run into a dead-end train when there's another crossing up this other way. So anyway, I realize those of you who say, you're crazy to brag that you have better eyesight. You're crazy to brag that you're smarter than us. I observe daily that you guys can't see. I observe daily that you guys can't think. Okay? People who don't want to understand how their cars work before they go 130 miles per hour, that's a fucking problem. That's an IQ test failed. You're a fucking moron to me. I'm just being blunt. It's Darwinism at its finest. But anyway, neither here nor there. So back to the second glitch. The second glitch is when you're giving it that wide open throttle when that governor is activated and keeping you at 60%. So you're trying to set a faster lap time and you think the car's got a gearing problem or something's wrong with the engine. You're fucking pissed because you know that in the Porsche and in the Lamborghini that sets the 640 lap times, you can mash it right here and pick up all kinds of speed through this section. And in the Corvette, as you're doing the same chicane, zigzag, long sweeping turn, whatever it is, you know you're not picking up the same kind of speed that the Porsche does, or the Lamborghini does, or the Mercedes does. And you're pissed off and you don't know what it is, and you go back and look at your PDR footage and you say, see right through here, these other car brands pick up speed through here, but not in the Corvette. This thing must have a fucking gearing problem. Wrong. And for those of you saying, oh, Brandon thinks he's smarter than the ring drivers now. Absolutely. They know the track better than I do, but when it comes to cars, I am smarter than these guys. I told Misha that there's no way the car would set a sub-7 time at the ring. I put an explanation post on Misha's wall. Okay? But let's get back to the glitch. Misha didn't listen. Misha didn't want to listen when I tried to explain to him about the what do you call it? The STO Lamborghini that he and his large-breasted girlfriend wanted to take for a ride and then act like the car was going to kill him. It's because they don't know how to set rear caster. They don't know that there's a rear caster adjustment setting on the Lamborghini STO, just like there is on the C7 and C8. And they don't know that when you adjust the camber and the toe on the rear, you're automatically knocking the rear caster out of alignment. You can't just leave the rear caster alone. It doesn't let you do that. It knocks itself out of alignment when you set the toe in the rear and the rear camber in the rear if you are not also setting the rear caster simultaneously. So anybody who wants to argue that there's not a rear caster alignment, just plug your ears and say, I'm dealing with a fucking moron, okay? Because that's what that person is. Okay, they're ignorant. Misha is ignorant on this topic. Misha can get somebody killed because he doesn't understand this. So anyway, especially if Misha says, oh, we're going to get your car aligned and then we're going to take it on the racetrack and it's going to be fantastic. No, it's not, Misha. You're going to get somebody fucking killed because when you're adjusting their factory OEM Lamborghini STO alignment that had the rear caster set properly, you're knocking the rear caster out of alignment. And it's the most important alignment statistic measurement to keep proper. It's the most delicate to keep proper, that if you don't, the car is absolutely a death trap at a high-speed turn. Okay, well, let's continue. I'm teaching you guys things that are going to keep you alive. If you guys don't want to listen, go ahead and die. I don't care, okay? I've warned you. It's not my problem. So, with all that said, look at this. 4 people who didn't see this guy waving that you need to stay to the left because they are fixing the truck. 4 people who didn't understand that they're fixing the truck. 4 people that I just watched get over because they couldn't see the truck. So those of you saying, Brandon, it's dangerous for you and the anonymous driver to drive fast. It's dangerous when people as stupid as these motherfuckers who just cut me off are the ones behind the wheel. You guys have low IQ levels. You guys don't have high driving IQ levels. You guys can't see what's going on. It's a shame. I don't know what you guys' problem is. I observe it all day, every day. It's not just half the population or 3/4 of the population. In most cases, it's like a fucking 100% of you. The train track situation back there on the other train crossing, 100% of people went straight instead of turned to avoid the train track crossing and get to where they're going at the same exact pace because it's a grid. Okay, I'm just being real with you guys. Why I get so fed up. Why I feel like I'm on a planet full of fucking retards. It's because everything is relative. Okay? So anyway, back to this glitch. When you give the car 100% throttle, and all of a sudden, the accelerometers, because you hit a bump or an undulation in the road, or maybe you do something with the steering wheel real quick, and all of a sudden the accelerometers say, hey, you know what? We're not actually pulling 1.2 lateral G anymore. We're only pulling 0.8 or 0.6. The discrepancy between the 60% where the car was limiting you to and however far further down you have the gas pedal comes on like a digital bat out of hell. And that digital bat out of hell from 60% to 100% on a C8 Z06 is a 300 horsepower swing. And that 300 horsepower swing in the blink of an eye that you didn't know was going to happen, because why? Because you have the throttle pedal down to 100%, and the car's limiting you, and you don't know that the car's limiting you, and you're pulling 1.2 lateral G in a turn at the ring or at VIR or whatever racetrack you're at, or on the road in the mountains somewhere. You're pulling 1.2 lateral G, and suddenly the car says, yeah, you know what, instead of 60% throttle, let's go ahead and give them 95. Okay, because originally I said 95. I apologize. Didn't mean to say 100. So the car goes ahead and unlocks the 95. It's giving you an extra 200 horsepower in the blink of an eye when your gas pedal didn't change position one iota. Your gas pedal's still at 100%, but the car digitally changes from 60% throttle to 95% throttle in the blink of an eye. And what happens to your car? It spins off the fucking road. And what does General Motors say in the courtroom? Your Honor, he was giving it too much throttle. The PDR and all the data logs show 100% throttle the whole time. And it displays 100% throttle the whole time. And then when you finally spin off the road, after that little 0.8 undulation, General Motors can say, Your Honor, there was a little undulation there. He was giving it too much throttle, off the road he went. There is no data provided through the PDR system. There's no data provided through the HP tuner system that shows the body control module, nor the transmission control module. nor the brake control module. None of these modules that can set these other ceilings down at 60% or lower that then unlock to 95%, none of these modules are shown via the data. So General Motors has all the evidence in their favor. They can say that there's nothing wrong with their car and their car did nothing. Meanwhile, the car did something. And there's only been one person so far on planet Earth who's explained this publicly, outside of General Motors. You're looking at him. It wasn't Randy Popst. It wasn't Chris Harris, and I love Chris Harris. He's a great guy. I guarantee you if Chris Harris spent enough time with the cars, he'd understand this. But here's the thing, guys. It's not only General Motors who's doing it this way. Lamborghini's now doing it. Ferrari's now doing it. Everybody's gravitating towards this new program. There needs to be a documentary about it. I think that once Chris Harris would see the documentary, once I put the documentary together, that then Chris Harris would then say, you know what, this guy's right. This needs to be talked about. There's these two main glitches, guys, that can kill you. Swing you off the road and kill you. I'm not making it up. Those of you who want to say I hate the brand, you are such a low IQ fucking piece of shit to me. You're a joke. You're a joke. You don't care about your fellow human's life. You don't care about the top race car drivers' lives. You don't care about the Ayrton Sennas of the world, because that's who these glitches will take, is the Sennas of the world. The top drivers of the world are the ones who these glitches will kill. Not the rest of you who think that you're sweet, because now you got a car that nannies you to death in ways that you don't even know it's doing it. While you're giving it 80% throttle, 70% throttle, 80% throttle, 90% throttle, and you're too fucking stupid to even notice that the car is keeping you at the 60% in that given situation, on that given turn, on that given racetrack. You don't even know that it's doing it because you guys' senses are so dull. Just like all those other people back there who didn't understand the train track situations. 2 train tracks in a row. You understand? Thank you so much. See ya.